I'm back. Some critical feedback that I'm giving to Zoom. I'd really like a filter. That'd be nice, so you don't have to see this. But we're back. So here we go. We are going to continue with Letter from Birmingham Jail. You only have one assignment this week. And you're all going to be like, yeah, only one assignment. And then I'm going to tell you what the assignment is, and you're going to be like, why is she such a she-devil? Here we go. I truly hope last week's catch-up went well for everyone. We should start this week with a fresh and a new mindset and the motivation to do better than the previous week. This week, we will continue forging forward with Letter from Birmingham Jail. So far we have reviewed the rhetorical situation, reviewed Space Cat, you've listened or read to Letter from Birmingham Jail, and you have reviewed how to identify rhetorical choices in text last week. That's a discussion post that you had to post on Google Classroom. Now we're going to put it all together and write a rhetorical analysis about Letter from Birmingham Jail. You have never done this before, okay? This is cumulative. This is the apex, the new word I learned due to COVID. For those of you who still feel lost, there's an essay with sentence frames I've built for you on the next page. For those of you who are taking the exam, I highly suggest trying this on your own and diligently timing yourself, okay? So here's the prompt. This hyperlinked passage, LOL, if you click on this, bam, it's a letter from Birmingham Jail. By Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., the Birmingham campaign began on April 3, 1963. This campaign was coordinated marches and sit-ins against racism and racial segregation in Birmingham, Alabama. King was imprisoned and endured harsh conditions in Birmingham Jail. 8 white Alabama clergymen were against King and his methods, so they wrote a call for unity and published it in a local paper. King was given this paper while in jail. The letter provoked King, and he began to write a response to the newspaper itself. Read the entire letter carefully. Then write an essay analyzing the rhetorical strategies King employs to convey his attitude about racial prejudice, his imprisonment, and his views on peaceful protest. So, AP. You think it stands for advanced placement, but it does not. It stands for answer the prompt. Here's the prompt. Answer it. This is all contextual information that will help you understand the time period, understand the historical context, and write your introduction paragraph. It's your job to pick and choose information that is important in order to write your introduction paragraph. Think Space Cat. So, what I tried to do is write some sentence frames for you, and then what I ended up doing was I sucked at it. I was not good at writing sentence frames. So what I did is I ended up writing the essay myself. Now, what I wanted to show you and to prove to you that I tried my best to time myself. It took me a little over an hour. It should take you like 45 minutes. But in my defense, I had to help my grandpa find his shoes. Now, I know that sounds crazy, but remember my grandpa has dementia. And he couldn't find his shoes, and he needed to find his shoes right now or else he would die. So, spoiler alert, his shoes were where they always were, but he has 2 pairs of the same shoes, and he could only find the left feet. So, whatever. Here's my time. This is how long it took me to write this essay. Let's go back. So, we're going to go through it, and I hope that it helps you write your own. Don't copy my ideas. I wrote this. I'll know you're plagiarizing me. And then I'll be sad. So, here's my hook. Iconic black men throughout history have worked tirelessly to break African American stereotypes in society and promote equality. Men such as Kevin Hart, Barack Obama, Jay-Z, and Kobe Bryant are able to achieve their dreams due to the radical efforts of Martin Luther King Jr. Although Americans are nowhere near achieving full equality among men and women, it is important to study history and learn from the greats of the past. Martin Luther King Jr. was able to ignite a lasting social change by writing a letter entitled Letter from Birmingham Jail in 1963. This was initially addressed to 8 white clergymen who wrote about how disappointed in King they were in a local newspaper. King's letter clarifies why protesting is important moral, and just, and inspires the clergyman to agree with him. King justifies his actions by using biblical allusions, inspiring and hopeful diction, and underscores his credibility as a civil rights influencer by describing the horrible effects of racism and segregation. So, I've color-coded my rhetorical choices. I'm going to be talking about allusions, diction, which is word choice, and credibility. Now, I want you to understand I don't just say he uses allusions, diction, and ethos to prove a point. I specify they are biblical allusions. They are inspiring and hopeful. And how does he prove his credibility? Well, he describes the horrible effects of racism and segregation. So here's my hook. Here is where I name drop and I give a little historical context. Here's the audience. Here is the purpose. So as you can see, you can start to pull out the space cap from this introduction paragraph. And I got this all from what I wrote right here. Okay, so do you see how I just kind of rephrased information and put it in here? I hope so. I mean, it's really weird talking to a green light on my MacBook. So here's my topic sentence. King studied and analyzed his audience, which is how he was able to cater and pander to their egos. King chose, and what I don't like about my essay is sometimes I call him Dr. King, and other times I just call him King. It's not going to be perfect. All right, I wrote this in like 45 minutes. I can't do anything different. So, King studied and analyzed his audience, which is how he is able to cater and pander to their egos. What I also don't like about this essay is I said their. Who is they? Who is that? Is they black people? Is they the world? Who is they? What I would have liked if I had done better is reiterate that this is who he's talking to. There is very vague and it doesn't quite explain who this is, so that's also what I would have done differently. King chooses many biblical allusions for the purpose of making the clergyman understand that he too was a man of God. He even goes as far as to suggest that he is carrying out God's purpose. Now, here's where I embed the quote. King writes that, quote, I am compelled to carry the gospel of freedom beyond my own home, end quote. Similar to Apostle Paul, who spread the good news to surrounding countries and cities, Dr. King is spreading his good news of equality, freedom, nonviolence, and peace. This is an error as well. It should not be a semicolon, it should just be a colon, because this is not a complete sentence after. So as you can see, my essay is not perfect. Your AP readers and graders will look past simple mistakes like that. They will look past parallel errors like this, King, Dr. King, whatever. It's they'll look past spelling mistakes, all of that stuff. So that's how I embedded my quote. King writes that. It's very simple. Is it going to get the sophistication point? No. But let's move on. This is a strong parallel to make because these clergymen who were very holy and respected men. Is that a complete sentence? I think so, but I would rephrase it because I don't like how it sounds. This is a strong parallel to make. I think it's the verb make that I don't like. He's not making anything necessarily. He's talking about something. Making is like you created something. I'm a very literal interpreter when it comes to verbs, so that's why it's very important to pick good ones. I actually used, where is it? I used this a lot to try and help me pick my verbs when I wrote my essay. There are rhetorically accurate verbs that you can use. Make is not on that list. Oops. God is their boss. Again, there. Who is they? I don't like that how vague that is. who am I referring to? God is their boss, their decision maker, and their most highly respected and revered figure in their life. Dr. King discusses, quote, the judgment of God in order to call out the church for not being authentic and caring more about being a social club than a house of God. By pandering to religion, the clergymen are more likely to listen to King because it seems logical to them. Religion was not just a feeling to these holy men, it was logical and the law to follow the Bible. To go against King was to go against God's word. In order to promote a radical social change, King knew he has to win over religious zealots. So I don't end in a quote. I end with my strongest piece of analysis so far. Again, we're going to move on to my second rhetorical choice that I'm talking about is word choice. Here's my topic sentence. In order to inspire these clergymen to sympathize with his cause, King purposefully and carefully selected his word choice in order to create a sympathetic tone. Now, what I would have done differently with this is I'm kind of focusing on two rhetorical choices in one, but it's not too terrible because word choice evokes a mood. Now, tone is what the author is implying, mood is what the audience receives. So this is a little unclear for me, but it is what I wrote, so we're going to move past it. King uses words like civil disobedience and dramatize to convey the idea what he was doing was not violent. Oh, and then my font size changes. Oops. It was not unholy. I used a very short sentence in order to emphasize that point. I have a complex sentence followed by a simple sentence followed by a very simple sentence. As you can see, I am varying my syntax, and this is such a short sentence that it really punches and drives home that King was not being this violent person. He was peacefully protesting in order to create peace in Birmingham specifically. Black people were not out in the streets terrorizing white moderates. He wanted to bring the clergymen back down to earth and make them more rational, empathetic people to his cause. Well, we should review what his cause was again instead of just saying his cause. What I would have done better next time is specifically identify his purpose again to remind the audience why he's doing this. He contrasts this peaceful idea by citing the hard, brutal, and unbelievable facts. So he goes from, I'm being peaceful, you guys are being overly dramatic, I'm not doing anything wrong. Then he's stating the facts. This is what happened. This is the law. I know you told me not to do it, so I do deserve a consequence. However, you're being drama queens. This works to do two things. It emphasizes the logical argument of equality by relying on factual anecdotes while simultaneously using brutish diction. Here we go. I am talking about the rhetorical choice that he did to create a contrast to what the actually happening in reality. That makes sense, right? That was perfect. No, it's not going to be perfect. It's okay. Dr. King was not violating property, acting violently, or trying to form a cult. By using nonviolent words, Dr. King effectively gains sympathy from the clergymen and underscores his purpose of encouraging racial equality. What I would have done better next time is I would have gone back to the letter from Birmingham jail and picked out more peaceful words, like singular words. Like I'm just going to go through and look quickly here for a word that implies peacefulness. Maybe this word constructive. If you're giving constructive criticism, that's not violent at all. That's not attacking you. That is making you a better person in a very kind and peaceful way. So maybe I would pick out that word. Another word I might choose to pick out is just looking through here. Maybe this moral responsibility to disobey unjust law. if you have a moral responsibility to do something that is not violent whatsoever. So what I would do better next time is pull out single individual small words to prove that he's using non-violent words to prove that he's not being violent. It's pretty self-explanatory. Here's my last point, credibility. Dr. King also underscores his credibility as a social influencer by discussing the experiences of black men in Alabama. King recalls the black experience by describing it as, quote, filthy, roach-infested jails suffering the abuse and brutality of policemen who review them as, that's a specific quote that a jailer said to him. He personally experienced these injustices and is relying on these anecdotes in order to gain sympathy from the clergymen. He knew he could not bully or force these people into joining his cause. Dr. King attempts to flatter the Catholic Church by saying he, quote, commends the Catholic leaders of the state. Now, let's talk about these little bracket things. This means this is not a direct quote. I had to change the verb tense in order for it to fit appropriately here. So I changed the verb tense, but in order to convey to the audience that it is not a direct quote, I put these little brackets around it, just so it could flow better within my sentence. Saying he commends the Catholic leaders of the state in order to manipulate them into listening to his ideas. He follows this flattery with criticism. He specifically called them out by saying he was greatly disappointed with the white church and its leadership because they were turning a blind eye to these poor people's dilemmas because of the color of their skin. By flattering the clergymen first, he humbles himself. This in turn helps his credibility because they are more likely to listen to someone who is humble compared to someone who is knocking down their doors, forcing a radical idea down their moderate throats. Okay, I was running out of time, so this is not a good conclusion, but it does the job. In conclusion, Dr. King greatly influenced the civil rights movement by giving it much-needed publicity. Without the letter he wrote to the church, he would not have been able to deliver his I Have a Dream speech. Okay, so here's my transition. This is basically the greater purpose. The greater idea. How did this impact society? How did this impact history? It's short, it's sweet, it's to the point. It's not very fancy or anything, but it gets the job done. I hope this helped going through it point by point. I have areas of growth in my own writing, so it's not going to be perfect, guys. You only have like 45 minutes to write this. Keep in mind, I don't expect yours to be 4 pages. Mine was because I've practiced this quite a bit. So this is your task for the week. Zoom me. If you want to do the alternate assignments, please, I would love to see not the alternate assignments, the optional assignments. I'd love to see your creativity with those and get to know you better as a person. So I hope this helped. Bye!